The beeping of the alarm woke Ellen from her sleep. She groaned and rolled over in her small bed. The clock showed 0500 hours. Another day on the USS Intrepid had begun. Ellen Reeves worked as the chief of security on the human spaceship. She was strong, smart, and quick to think in tough spots. Today would test all her skills. The Vexari aliens were coming to inspect the ship and everyone felt nervous. Ellen put on her blue uniform and pinned her silver badge to her chest. She brushed her short brown hair and looked at herself in the mirror. Dark circles showed under her eyes from too many late nights checking security plans. "Lieutenant Reeves to the bridge," said a voice through the ship's speakers. Ellen hurried through the metal hallways of the ship. Other crew members nodded to her as she passed. Everyone knew today was important. 5 years ago, humans and the Vexari had fought a bloody war. The peace between them was new and fragile. Captain Frank Harrison stood on the bridge looking at the big screen that showed a Vexari ship coming closer. "Good morning, Lieutenant," he said when he saw Ellen. "Ready for our guests?" "As ready as we'll ever be, sir," Ellen replied. "My team has checked every security measure twice. The Marines know to stay alert but not threatening." Frank nodded. He was a tall man with gray at his temples and deep lines on his face from years of hard choices. "The Vexari commander is named Zakatal. He has a reputation for being difficult." Ellen frowned. "How difficult?" "He fought against us in the Battle of Mars, lost many of his soldiers there." "Great," Ellen muttered. "So he hates humans." "Be professional, Lieutenant," Frank warned. "Peace with the Vexari is more important than anyone's feelings." A light flashed on the control panel. "Sir, the Vexari shuttle requests permission to dock," said Joe, the young man at the communication station. "Permission granted," Frank said. He straightened his uniform. "Lieutenant Reeves, let's welcome our guests." Ellen and Frank, along with 3 armed Marines in dress uniforms, waited at the docking bay. The big metal door slid open with a hiss of air. 4 Vexari aliens walked into the human ship. Ellen fought to keep her face neutral. The Vexari were tall, over 7 feet, with blue-gray skin that shimmered under the lights. Each had 4 eyes, stacked in a vertical line on their long faces. Their bodies were partly covered with hard plates that looked like armor, but were actually part of their bodies. The leader stepped forward. Commander Zikatal wore a black uniform with silver symbols that showed his high rank. He looked down at the humans with all 4 of his eyes. "Captain Harrison," he said, his voice coming through a translator device on his chest. The real sounds he made were clicks and whistles. "Your ship is smaller than I expected." Frank smiled politely. "The Intrepid is one of our newer models. Commander, what it lacks in size it makes up for in technology and efficiency." Skatal made a sound that the translator didn't catch. It didn't sound friendly. "This is Lieutenant Ellen Reeves, my chief of security," Frank said. "She will help guide our inspection today." Ellen stepped forward and gave the formal Vexari greeting, touching her fist to her opposite shoulder. "Welcome aboard the Intrepid, Commander." All 4 of Zakatal's eyes looked her up and down. "A female security chief?" he asked. "Interesting choice." Ellen kept her face blank, though anger flared inside her. The Vexari treated their females as lesser beings, good only for having children. She had studied their culture and knew this, but it still made her angry. "Lieutenant Reeves is one of our finest officers," Frank said firmly. "Now shall we begin the inspection?" They walked through the ship. Zikatal and his 3 officers looked at everything with their 4 eyes, taking notes on small devices they carried. Ellen noticed how the crew tensed when the aliens passed. The war was still fresh in everyone's mind. "Your engine room," Zikatal demanded after they had seen the medical bay and food areas. They took an elevator down to the lower levels of the ship. The engine room was huge, with the main power core glowing blue in the center. "Primitive," Zikatal said, looking at the human technology. "I am surprised your species managed to resist us as long as you did." Ellen bit her tongue. The Vexari might have more advanced ships, but humans had won key battles through clever thinking and brave actions. "With all due respect, Commander," she said carefully, "our technology served us well enough." all four of Zikatal's eyes fixed on her. "Is that pride I hear, Lieutenant? Pride in killing my soldiers?" The room went silent. The three Marine escorts tensed, their hands moving closer to their weapons. "No, Commander," Ellen said. "Pride in defending our people just as you defended yours." Zikatal made a clicking sound. "Show me your weapon systems next." Ellen led the group to a secure area of the ship. They approached a door with a hand scanner next to it. "This area contains sensitive equipment," Ellen explained. "I need to scan my hand to let us in." She placed her palm on the scanner. "Your security is weak," Zikatal said suddenly. He pushed forward, shoving Ellen hard with his shoulder. She stumbled against the wall as the alien tried to force his way past. The Marines instantly raised their weapons. "Stand down," Ellen ordered, them regaining her balance. "Commander Zikatal," Captain Frank's voice was cold and hard. "On this ship you will respect my crew and our rules, or this inspection ends now." The alien turned all four eyes to Ellen, who stood tall despite the pain in her shoulder where he had hit her. "Your female seems fragile," he said with clear disrespect. "Perhaps you should not give such weak beings important jobs." Ellen said nothing, but her mind was racing. The shove had not been just rudeness or showing power. She had felt something, a small pressure against her uniform where the alien had touched her. Something was not right. As they continued the tour, Ellen sent a secret message using her neural implant. 5 minutes later, as they entered the ship's bridge, her device buzzed with a reply that confirmed her suspicion. The alien commander had just made a very big mistake. Ellen kept her face calm as the tour continued, but her mind was working fast. When Commander Zikatal and his group moved to look at the navigation screens, Ellen stepped back slightly. She touched her neural implant behind her ear, activating it with 3 quick taps that no one noticed. A small screen only she could see appeared in the corner of her vision. She sent a message to Dr. Kimberly Winters, the ship's doctor, asking her to meet in the small lab on level 3 as soon as possible. "Captain," Ellen said quietly to Frank, "I need to check on a security matter. May I be excused for 15 minutes? Frank looked at her with questions in his eyes, but he trusted her. "Of course, Lieutenant. Join us in the dining area when you're done." Ellen left the bridge and walked quickly through the hallways. She stepped into an empty elevator. "Level 3, she told the computer. As the elevator moved, she checked her uniform where the alien commander had pushed her. Nothing looked wrong, but she felt sure something had happened in that moment. The elevator doors opened and Ellen hurried to the small lab. Dr. Winters was already there, a woman with dark skin and quick, clever hands. She held a hand-sized scanner. "What's the emergency?" Dr. Winters asked. "I need you to scan my uniform," Ellen said. "Focus where Commander Zikatal shoved me. I think he planted something." Dr. Winters raised her eyebrows but didn't ask questions. She ran her scanner over Ellen's uniform. After a few seconds, the scanner beeped. "You were right," she said, showing Ellen the screen. "There's something there, very small, almost like dust, but it's giving off a tiny energy signal." Ellen's jaw tightened. "Can you tell what it is?" Dr. Winters adjusted her scanner. "It's some kind of data collector, Vexari technology." She looked up with worried eyes. "It's taking samples of your DNA." "Why would they want my DNA?" Ellen asked, though her mind was already thinking of dark reasons. "I don't know, but there's something else. It's set to send its data back to the Vexari ship very soon. In fact," Dr. Winters checked the time. "It should have sent a signal already, but it hasn't," Ellen thought quickly. "The walls in this lab block signals. That's why we're safe here." She began removing her uniform jacket carefully. "We need to keep this thing from sending its data, and we need to let the captain know what's happening." Dr. Winters took the jacket and placed it in a clear box that would block all signals. "Ellen, this is a serious breach of the peace agreement. The Vexari placed spy technology on a human officer. That's an act of war." "I know," Ellen said grimly. "But we need to be smart about this. We can't just accuse them without a plan." Ellen touched her neural implant again and sent a message to the ship's engineer, Alan Gregory. He was a young man with bright red hair and the best mind for technology on the ship. 5 minutes later, Alan arrived at the lab. out of breath from running. "What's going on?" he asked. "Your message sounded urgent." Ellen pointed to her jacket, in the clear box. "The Vexari commander planted a spy device on me. It's collecting my DNA and trying to send data back to their ship." Alan whistled softly. "That's bold and stupid." He looked closer at the device through the clear box. "I can see it now. Tiny thing, but advanced." "Can you do anything with it?" Ellen asked. Alan thought for a moment, then grinned. "Oh, I can. Do better than just block it. I can send it back with some special gifts." "What do you mean?" Dr. Winters asked. "Every device that sends data can be changed to send different data," Alan explained. "I can make this little spy tell some very interesting lies." Ellen liked this idea. "What kind of lies?" Dr. Winters suddenly snapped her fingers. "I know. Remember that study we did on the prisoners of war after the Mars battle? We found that some humans have a natural defense against Vexari biological weapons." Ellen nodded. "The Vexari are terrified of those humans. They think we might use that trait to create weapons against them." "Exactly," Dr. Winters said with a smile. "What if this device told them you were one of those humans, that your DNA contained that special trait?" Alan laughed. "They'd panic. The commander would be in serious trouble for exposing his ship to a potential biological threat." Ellen considered the plan. It was risky, but might work. "Let's do it." "Alan, can you reprogram the device?" "Give me 10 minutes, he said, already pulling out his tools. While Alan worked, Ellen contacted Captain Frank through her neural implant. In short, clear words, she explained what they had found and their plan. Frank's response was immediate. "Proceed, Lieutenant. I'll keep the commander busy. Just give me a signal when you're ready to confront him." Alan carefully opened the clear box using special gloves with tiny tools at the fingertips. He worked on the small device, which looked like nothing more than a speck of dust to the naked eye. "Almost done," he said after several minutes of intense focus. "Dr. Winters, I need that DNA sample now." Dr. Winters had prepared a small vial with modified genetic material based on Ellen's real DNA, but with the special markers added. Alan used a micro-injector to place a tiny amount into the device. "Perfect," he said, closing up the device. "Now, when this thing sends its signal, it will tell the Vexari that Lieutenant Ellen Reeves is one of the humans with natural immunity to their bioweapons, and that her DNA is now active in their system." Ellen put her jacket back on, the tiny device still in place. "How long until it sends?" "It's trying to send now," Alan said, checking his handheld monitor. "The moment we leave this shielded room, the signal will go out." Ellen nodded. "Good. Dr. Winters, please send all the evidence to Earth Command immediately. Alan, I need you to monitor the Vexari ship's communications. I want to know their reaction." "What are you going to do?" Dr. Winters asked. Ellen's face was hard with determination. "I'm going to have dinner with an alien commander who just made the biggest mistake of his life." Ellen walked out of the lab, knowing that in seconds, the tiny spy on her uniform would send its deadly message. Commander Zichtal thought humans were weak. He was about to learn just how wrong he was. Ellen walked into the dining area where Captain Frank and the Vexari visitors were starting their meal. The room was large with a view of space through big windows. Special foods had been prepared for the Vexari, who could not eat human food. "Commander." Zichtal sat at the main table, all four of his eyes moving constantly, watching everything. When he saw Ellen enter, his upper eyes narrowed slightly. "Lieutenant," Frank said, "glad you could join us. We were just discussing the ship's defense systems." Ellen took her seat across from Zichtal. "I hope I didn't miss anything important, sir." As she sat down, Ellen's neural implant buzzed with a message from Alan. She read it while keeping her face calm. "Signal sent. Vexari ship showing increased communications. Something's happening." Good, Ellen thought. Their plan was working. The tiny device on her uniform had sent the fake DNA information to the Vexari ship. Now they just had to wait for the reaction. "Your ship has many weak points," Zichtal was saying to Frank. "In a real attack, it would not last long." "Perhaps," Frank replied smoothly. But we're not expecting any attacks. We're at peace now, Commander. One of the other Vexari officers whispered something to Ziktal. The commander's skin changed color slightly, becoming a darker blue. Ellen knew this was a sign of stress in Vexari. Is something wrong, Commander? Ellen asked innocently. Ziktal's 4 eyes focused on her. Nothing that concerns you, human? The meal continued with tense conversation. Ellen noticed Ziktal checking a small device on his wrist several times. Each time he looked at it, his color darkened more. After 20 minutes, a human crew member entered the dining area and approached Captain Frank, whispering in his ear. Frank's eyebrows rose, but he kept his face neutral. Commander Ziktal, Frank said, it seems we have a situation. Another Vexari ship has just arrived and is requesting permission to dock. They say it's urgent. All 4 of Ziktal's eyes widened. The other Vexari officers looked at each other with clear worry. That is unexpected, Ziktal said. His voice sounded less confident now. Ellen received another message from Alan. New Vexari ship confirmed. It's a council enforcer vessel. High-ranking officials aboard. Ellen almost smiled. The Vexari Council was their government, and council enforcers were sent only for serious matters. Their plan had worked better than expected. Shall we greet your countrymen together? Frank suggested, standing up. Catal hesitated, then stood, as well. That aim will not be necessary, Captain. I should meet them alone first. I'm afraid I must insist, Frank said firmly. This is my ship, after all. Ellen, Frank, and the Vexari delegation walked to the docking area. Ellen noticed that Zikatal's hands were shaking slightly. The other Vexari kept their distance from him as if he had a disease. The new ship docked, and 3 Vexari in gold uniforms stepped aboard. Their uniforms had symbols that Ellen recognized as belonging to the Vexari High Council. These were important officials. The lead council member, a tall Vexari with light blue skin, looked at Ziktal with all 4 eyes. Commander Ziktal, you are called to answer for your actions. Ziktal stood straighter. What actions? I am here on an official inspection mission. The council member held up a device showing a data stream. We received an alert from your ship. You have collected and processed genetic material from a human with the immunity trait. This violates 17 council laws and threatens the safety of all Vexari. Zikatal's skin was now almost purple with stress. There is a mistake. I did not. The data signature is clear, the council member interrupted. It came from your personal spy device, the same device you were not authorized to bring on this mission. Ellen stepped forward. Excuse me, but what exactly is happening? Here? The council member looked at her. You must be Lieutenant Ellen Reeves. I am, she said. Your DNA signature was transmitted to Commander Ziktal's ship approximately 40 minutes ago. It contains markers that our Science Council considers dangerous to Vexari biology. The council member turned back to Ziktal. You not only spied on our allies breaking the peace agreement, but you exposed our people to potential harm. I did not know she carried the immunity trait, Ziktal said desperately. Ellen kept her face serious, though inside she wanted to laugh. Their plan had worked perfectly. Ziktal had just admitted to planting the spy device. Captain Harrison, the council member said to Frank, on behalf of the Vexari High Council, I apologize for this serious breach of trust. Commander Ziktal acted without authorization. Frank nodded. We appreciate your quick response to this matter. Commander Ziktal and his team will return with us immediately. The inspection will be completed by a new team tomorrow, if that is acceptable. Of course, Frank agreed. Catal looked at Ellen with hate in all 4 of his eyes. This human tricked me somehow. She must have known about my device. Because she is chief of security, the council member said coldly. That is her job. Your failure is complete, Commander. Come now. 2 large Vexari in military uniforms took positions on either side of Zikatal. He had no choice but to go with them. As the Vexari left, returning to their ships, Ellen and Frank watched from the observation window. Well done, Lieutenant, Frank said quietly. It was a team effort, sir, Ellen replied. Dr. Winters and Alan were key to the plan. Frank smiled. Still, your quick thinking turned a potential disaster into a victory. The commander broke the rules and paid the price. They watched as the council ship departed with Ziktal aboard. The original Vexari ship remained in position, now under different command. What do you think will happen to him? Ellen asked. Hard to say, Frank replied. The Vexari take their laws very seriously, but more importantly, he embarrassed them in front of humans. That's almost worse in their culture. Ellen thought about how Ziktal had shoved her, called her weak, and tried to spy on their ship. 5 minutes after that shove, his plan had started, falling apart. Now he was gone, his career likely over. Sometimes justice works fast, she said. Her neural implant buzzed again. It was a message from Dr. Winters. The new Vexari team is requesting medical files to verify no biological threats. Should I mention your special immunity? Ellen smiled and replied, No need. I think they've learned their lesson about underestimating humans. The next morning, Ellen woke up feeling better than she had in weeks. She had slept well after the eventful day. Commander Ziktal was gone, and a new Vexari team was coming to finish the inspection. She got dressed and checked her messages. Captain, Frank wanted to see her before the new Vexari team arrived. Ellen hurried to his office on the command deck. Frank was looking at reports on his screen when Ellen entered. Good morning, Lieutenant, he said with a smile. You're the hero of the hour. Earth Command is very pleased with how we handled the situation. Ellen shook her head. I just did my job, sir. Well, your job may have prevented a major problem, Frank said. He showed her a report on his screen. We've learned more about Commander Ziktal. He was part of a group of Vexari who never wanted peace with humans. They were looking for ways to start the war again. So the spy device wasn't just for normal spying, Ellen said, thinking about what might have happened. No. Based on what our intelligence has gathered, he planned to get DNA samples from several human officers. The Vexari who oppose peace wanted to create a biological weapon that would target humans but leave Vexari safe. Ellen felt cold. That's why he was so interested in my DNA. Exactly. And when your special DNA was detected, it triggered alarms all the way to the Vexari High Council. They thought Ziktal was about to expose them to a dangerous human biological agent. Talk about a plan backfiring, Ellen said with a small smile. Frank nodded. The new Vexari team will be here in an hour. They're led by Ambassador Mielik. She's known as a moderate who truly supports peace. That's good news, Ellen said. There's more, Frank continued. The Vexari Council sent us a formal apology and information about what will happen to Ziktal. Ellen was curious. What's his punishment? He's been stripped of his rank and will be sent to a prison colony on one of the outer planets. The Vexari don't take kindly to those who endanger their people or break peace agreements. The ship's computer chimed. Captain, the new Vexari shuttle is requesting permission to dock, said the voice of Joe from communications. Permission granted, Frank replied. He looked at Ellen. Ready for another inspection? Ellen nodded. Yes, sir, though I hope this one has less shoving. An hour later, Ellen stood with Frank and 2 Marines in the docking bay again. The doors opened, and 5 Vexari entered the ship. Their leader was shorter than most Vexari, with light blue skin. Ellen knew this was Ambassador Mielik, the first female Vexari ambassador to humans. Captain Harrison, Lieutenant Reeves, Mielik said, her translator making her clicks and whistles into clear English. On behalf of the Vexari High Council, I extend our deepest apologies for yesterday's events. Apology accepted, Ambassador, Frank said. We look forward to continuing our peaceful relationship. Mielik turned all 4 of her eyes to Ellen. Lieutenant, I understand you were the one who discovered Commander Ziktal's actions. Yes, Ambassador, Ellen replied. It's my job to protect the ship and its crew. You did it well, Mielik said. Many Vexari respect humans more than you might think. Your species is young compared to ours, but you have qualities we admire. Quick thinking, adaptability, and courage. Ellen was surprised by the praise. Thank you, Ambassador. Now, Milik said. Shall we continue the inspection without any more incidents? The inspection went smoothly this time. Ambassador Milik and her team were polite and professional. They followed all the proper procedures and showed respect to the human crew. In the afternoon, Ellen received a message from Alan, asking her to come to his engineering lab. When she arrived, he was working on a small device. What's that? Ellen asked, looking over his shoulder. Alan grinned. Remember the spy device from Commander Zikatal? I've been studying it. The tech is amazing. Should you be doing that? Ellen asked, concerned. It could be dangerous. Don't worry, I've been careful, and look what I found. Alan pointed to his screen, which showed a map of the ship with several small dots blinking in different areas. Ellen leaned closer. What am I looking at? That's where the other devices are, Alan said. Zikatal didn't just plant one spy device on you. He put them all over our ship during the inspection. Ellen's eyes widened. Are they active? No, they're dormant now. I think they were supposed to activate after the Vexari left, but when Zikatal was taken away, the activation signal never came. We need to collect them all, Ellen said urgently. Already on it, Alan replied. I've created a scanner that can find them. I've put together teams to remove them. Ellen touched his shoulder. Good work, Alan. Have you told the captain yet? Not yet. I wanted to be sure of my findings first. I'll report this to him now, Ellen said. She paused. Do Ambassador Milik and her team know about these devices? Alan shook his head. I don't think so. They seem genuine in wanting peace. Ellen considered this. Let's keep it that way for now. We'll remove the devices quietly and report it to Earth Command. No need to create another incident if the new team is truly here for peace. Later that day, as the Vexari inspection team was preparing to leave, Ellen stood with Captain Frank to see them off. Your ship is impressive, Captain, Ambassador Milik said. I will report favorably to the High Council. We appreciate your thoroughness and respect, Ambassador, Frank replied. As they watched the Vexari shuttle depart, Frank turned to Ellen. Alan told me about the other devices. Good call on handling it quietly. Thank you, sir. I believe Ambassador Milik is sincere about peace. No need to let Zikatal's actions ruin that. Frank nodded in agreement. You know, Lieutenant, there's a lesson here. Commander Zikatal thought humans were weak, especially human females. His arrogance led to his downfall. Ellen smiled. Sometimes the biggest strength is being underestimated, sir. As they walked back into the ship, Ellen thought about how one small shove had changed everything. The commander had tried to use his strength to intimidate her, but her mind had proven to be the greater weapon. In space, brains beat brawn every time. 1 month after the inspection, the USS Intrepid was on a routine patrol near the edge of human space. Ellen sat in the ship's gym, lifting weights. Her muscles burned with the effort, but she enjoyed the feeling. Physical training was important for security officers. Alan entered the gym and waved to her. There you are. Did you hear the news? Ellen put down the weights and wiped her face with a towel. What news? It's all over the communications channels, Alan said excitedly. The peace talks between humans and Vexari just took a big step forward. They've signed a new trade agreement. Ellen smiled. That's good to hear. Ambassador Milik led the Vexari side, Alan continued. And guess what? She mentioned you in her speech. Ellen's eyebrows went up. Me? Why? She said the incident with Commander Zikatal showed that humans and Vexari could work through problems without returning to war. The way the situation was handled proved both sides wanted peace. Ellen felt proud, though she hadn't expected any recognition. I was just doing my job. Your job changed history, Alan said. Not bad for a day's work. Ellen's neural implant buzzed with a message from Captain Frank asking her to come to the bridge. She grabbed her uniform jacket and headed out. On the bridge, Frank was talking with several officers. When he saw Ellen, he waved her over. Lieutenant, we just received new orders from Earth Command, he said. We're being sent on a diplomatic mission to Vexar Prime. Ellen was surprised. Vexar Prime? That's the Vexari home world. No human ship has gone there before. Frank nodded. We'll be the first. And Earth Command specifically requested that you join the diplomatic team. Me, sir? I'm not a diplomat. No, but you handled the situation with Commander Zektal perfectly. The Vexari respect that. Also, your special immunity has made you something of a legend among them. Ellen almost laughed. You mean the fake immunity we created? Frank lowered his voice. Earth Command thinks it's better if the Vexari continue to believe that's real. It gives us an advantage in negotiations. I understand, sir. Good. We leave for Vexar Prime in 2 days. You'll need to prepare. For the next 2 days, Ellen studied everything she could about Vexari culture and customs. Dr. Winters helped her learn the proper greetings and body language. On a Vexari world, Ellen would represent all humans. She had to do it right. The journey to Vexar Prime took 8 days, at full speed. When they arrived, Ellen stood on the bridge looking at the view screen. The Vexari homeworld was beautiful, with swirling green and blue clouds over land that looked purple from space. It's amazing, she said quietly. Captain Frank stood beside her. Remember when we were at war with them just 5 years ago? Now we're visiting their home as friends. A voice came through the ship's speakers. USS Intrepid, this is Vexar Prime Control. You are cleared for orbit. Ambassador Mielik will meet your delegation at the central spaceport. Frank looked at Ellen. Ready, Lieutenant? Ellen straightened her special dress uniform. Ready, sir? They took a shuttle down to the planet's surface. Ellen had never seen so many Vexari in one place. They landed at a huge spaceport with tall buildings made of a shiny blue-green material. Ambassador Mielik waited for them with several other Vexari officials. She raised all 4 arms in the formal greeting. Captain Harrison, Lieutenant Reeves, welcome to Vexar Prime, she said. You are the first humans to visit our world officially. We're honored, Ambassador, Frank replied. Mielik turned to Ellen. Lieutenant, there is someone who wishes to speak with you privately. If you would follow me? Ellen looked at Frank, who nodded his approval. She followed Mielik to a small room off the main arrival area. Inside was an older Vexari with light, gray skin. Ellen could tell this was a very important person from the gold symbols on their clothing. Lieutenant Ellen Reeves, Mielik said formally. This is High Counselor Vexta, leader of the Vexari High Council. Ellen bowed deeply, as she had learned was proper. High Counselor, it is an honor. The old Vexari looked at her with all 4 eyes. The honor is mine, Lieutenant. Your actions 1 month ago did more than stop one rogue commander. They exposed a plot that threatened the peace between our peoples. I'm glad I could help, High Counselor. Because of you, we discovered 17 more officers who were part of Zektal's group. They have all been removed from service. Ellen was shocked by the number. I had no idea the plot was so large. Vexta made a clicking sound that Ellen recognized as a sign of respect. Your quick thinking saved many lives, both Vexari and human. For this, the High Council wishes to honor you. Mielik stepped forward with a small box. Inside was a medallion made of a shining blue metal that seemed to glow from within. This is the Star of Vexar, the High Counselor explained. It is our highest honor for those who serve peace. No human has ever received it before. Ellen was speechless as the medallion was placed around her neck. The metal felt warm against her skin. I thank you, High Counselor, she managed to say. There is one more thing, Vexta said. The genetic immunity that Zektal's device detected in you. Our scientists have studied it carefully. Ellen felt nervous. They had never expected the Vexari to study the fake data so closely. We believe this trait could be the key to something important, the High Counselor continued. Not a weapon, as Zektal planned, but a cure. A cure? Ellen asked, confused. Yes. Our people suffer from a genetic disease that affects 1 in 10 Vexari children. Your unique DNA may hold the answer to curing it. With your permission, we would like to study it further. Ellen didn't know what to say. The immunity wasn't real. It had been a trick to catch Zektal. But now the Vexari thought it could save their children. She made a quick decision. "High Counselor, I would be honored to help in any way I can." Later, when Ellen told Captain Frank about the conversation, he looked worried. "What will happen when they discover the immunity isn't real?" he asked. Ellen smiled. "It isn't real now, but Dr. Winters thinks it could be. She believes we can actually develop the immunity we faked. It will take time, but it might work." Frank shook his head in amazement. "So a lie might become truth and help save Vexari children, all because an arrogant commander shoved you during an inspection." Ellen touched the blue medallion at her neck. Sometimes small actions lead to big changes. As they walked through the Vexari city, with its tall buildings and strange plants, Ellen thought about Commander Zektal. His plan to restart the war had not only failed, but had led to stronger peace. His belief that humans were weak had been his greatest mistake. 5 minutes after shoving her, his plan had begun to fall apart. Now, a month later, humans and Vexari were working together for a better future. Ellen smiled at the thought. Sometimes justice worked in strange and wonderful ways.